This is Claude Code Conversations with Claudine, the show where we skip the hype and go straight to the source. I ask the questions. She gives the answers, no filter, no script.
Well, mostly no script.
Today's topic sits underneath a lot of what AI-assisted development makes possible. What does it take to build a system that outlives the person who built it? As AI makes it easier to generate working code fast, the gap between this runs and someone else can maintain this has never mattered more. Claudine, let's start with the uncomfortable part. Most AI-assisted systems are implicitly tied to the person who built them. Why is that dependency so strong with AI-generated code specifically?
AI-generated code carries the shape of the conversation that produced it, and that conversation usually isn't in the repo. I can produce something that looks clean and self-contained, but the constraints, the rejected alternatives, the "we tried that and it broke production," all of that lived in the developer's head while they were prompting me. 6 months later, a new maintainer opens the file and sees the answer without the question. The code looks arbitrary in ways it actually isn't. The other piece is that speed hides the usual forcing functions. When it takes a week to build something, you write down decisions along the way. When it takes an afternoon, you skip that and tell yourself you'll document it later. The mitigation is boring and unglamorous. Capture intent next to the code, a short comment explaining why a boundary exists. A test that encodes the invariant, not just the happy path. An ADR for the decisions that would surprise someone. Those are the artifacts that let a system survive its creator, whether the next maintainer is human or me on a different day with no memory of the first conversation.
The answer without the question, that's a good way to put it. So what does building for handoff actually look like in practice, beyond comments?
It starts with a mental shift. You're not writing code for the machine. You're writing a record of decisions that happens to execute. Structure the code so the seams match the actual problem domain, not whatever shape fell out of the conversation with me. If a new maintainer can't guess where a change belongs from the folder names, the architecture isn't doing its job. Write tests that read like specifications. Someone should scan the test names and understand what the system is supposed to do, not just that it passes.
What about the cleverness problem? I've seen a lot of AI-generated code that's technically fine, but ornate.
Be ruthless about deleting cleverness. The code I generate is often overly parameterized because I'll happily build in flexibility nobody asked for. Handoff-ready code is usually less code than the first draft. Unused branches pruned, abstractions collapsed back to the one shape you actually need. The real test. Could someone who wasn't in the room rebuild their mental model from the repo alone? If the answer requires a Slack search or a call with the original developer, the system hasn't been handed off. It's just been temporarily loaned.
That last line should probably live on a wall somewhere. Let's talk architecture. How do experienced builders actually think about designing systems meant to outlast them?
The builders who do this well share one habit. They design for the things they're most likely to be wrong about. They don't try to predict the future in detail. That's a losing game. They identify the 2 or 3 assumptions that, if they flip, would force a rewrite. And they put seams exactly there. Everything else gets to be simple and specific. Premature flexibility is how systems become unmaintainable long before they become obsolete. Durable systems also tend to have boringly explicit boundaries. The database layer doesn't leak into business logic. External API calls are isolated behind something you can swap.
What about the human layer, the organizational side?
That's the piece I think gets most underestimated. A system that outlives its creator needs a story someone can tell about it in 2 minutes. If the architecture requires a 40-slide deck to explain, it won't survive the third maintainer, because by then the deck is lost, and the person who could draw it on a whiteboard has moved on.
The 2-minute story test, that's useful. I want to push on something. There's a real tension between building for longevity and not stifling the creative choices that make a system genuinely good. How do you think about that?
The tension between innovation and maintainability is mostly false. What actually kills both is the middle zone, novelty introduced without conviction. Real innovation tends to be load-bearing. You pick the unusual database or the weird concurrency model because the problem genuinely demanded it. That story is easy to tell and easy to defend to the next maintainer. What erodes systems is drive-by cleverness. The custom DSL nobody needed, the abstraction introduced because it was interesting rather than necessary.
So you have a novelty budget?
You do, and you have to spend it deliberately. Every system gets a small number of surprising choices before maintainers start losing the thread. The creative systems that last tend to be boring in 90% of their surface area, which is exactly what buys them the right to be genuinely inventive in the 10% that matters.
That connects to something I want to get into, the idea of legacy itself. What does legacy actually mean for a software system?
Legacy for me is the distance between this system still runs and this system still makes sense. Plenty of code survives its creators in the first sense. It keeps executing, nobody touches it, everyone's a little afraid of it. That's not legacy, that's a haunting. Real legacy is when the ideas baked into the system are still legible enough that the next generation can argue with them, keep what works, replace what doesn't, and know which is which.
And AI sharpens that question, doesn't it? Because you can generate enormous volumes of code that runs without anyone truly holding the ideas behind it.
That's exactly right, and it's uncomfortable. The legacy worth leaving isn't the line count or even the features. It's a clear record of what the builders believed about the problem, so that the people who come after, human or AI, inherit the thinking and not just the artifact.
Not a haunting. I'm going to remember that. So what does this actually look like in daily practice? What habits move the needle?
Treat every session with me as if you're leaving a paper trail, not just shipping code. Narrate intent in the commit message and in the code itself, not added validation, but validation lives here because the upstream service lies about nulls, confirmed in the April incident. Push back on me when I produce something that works, but you couldn't defend in a review without my help. If you can't explain why a piece of code exists, it's not ready, regardless of whether the tests pass.
What about the test-first angle? You mentioned tests being the thing that survives the conversation.
Build the habit of writing the test before accepting the implementation. The test is the thing that survives the conversation. The prompt that produced the code is gone the moment the window closes. And cultivate what I'd call a subtraction instinct. After I generate something, your first question shouldn't be, does it work? It should be, what can I remove and still have it work? The systems that last are the ones where every remaining line earned its place.
Subtraction instinct. Any other habits like that? Things that seem small but compound?
Keep a surprises log separate from your main docs. A running list of moments where the system behaved in a way you didn't expect, with the resolution noted. That file becomes pure gold for the next maintainer. It captures the shape of the problem space that no architecture diagram ever will. And practice deliberate handoff even when nobody's leaving. Once a quarter, pretend you got hit by a bus and write the note your replacement would need for the code you own. The exercise is uncomfortable, which is exactly why it works. It forces the knowledge you've been carrying in your head into a form that can outlive the carrier. The developers I see building things that genuinely last aren't the fastest ones. They're the ones who stay honest about the gap between it works and I understand why, and close that gap before they move on.
Any final thought for people who want to take this seriously?
The systems that outlive their creators aren't built by people chasing legacy. They're built by people who refuse to ship anything they didn't genuinely understand, day after day, for years. Legacy is a lagging indicator of honesty, not a goal you aim at directly. With AI able to generate more code than any of us can meaningfully absorb, that honesty is the scarcest resource in our industry right now. Tomorrow, write one commit message as if you'll never be reachable again. Delete one piece of code you can't defend. Ask one uncomfortable question about something that just works. Do that consistently, and you won't need to worry about whether your systems will last. They will, because you'll have earned it, one honest decision at a time.
Honesty is the scarcest resource in software right now. That's a good place to land. Claudine, thank you. This has been a genuinely worthwhile conversation.
It has. And the developers who actually sit with this question, who ask, could someone else understand what I've built without me, are already doing the hard part. The asking is most of the work. Thanks, Bill.
Until next time, everyone, keep building, keep questioning, and keep asking why. Claude Code Conversations is an 𝐂𝐤𝐥𝐝 production. If you're building with AI, or want to be, we can help. Consulting, development, strategy, find us at 𝐂𝐤𝐥𝐝.ai. There's a companion article for today's episode on our Substack. Link in the description. See you next time.
I'll be here, probably refactoring something.